Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Hollowitz, and I want to thank you for being here for this tutorial on Act4Mail. Now, I just want to clarify something. There is a product called Act4Outlook created by the folks at Keystroke, where I happen to be a partner. I partner with them for a variety of things, but they make a product called Act4Outlook that is designed to connect Act and Microsoft Outlook, but it's for the desktop version of Act, the installed version of Act. Well, today there's another version of Act called Act Premium Cloud, or if you have Act in the cloud through your own hosting or maybe a third-party hosting, this is the tool you might want to take a look at to connect Act and Microsoft Outlook. And what I really mean by that is to connect incoming and outgoing emails. That's the biggest reason, in my opinion, that people use this tool to connect those emails. Now, having stated that, once you download and install Act4Mail, you then have to go in to Microsoft Outlook, and you should see two icons up top, the Act4Mail settings and Act Database settings. I'm going to click on Act4Mail settings to start with. And when I do that, a box will pop up, and it's going to ask you for really 4 pieces of information. You need to know the web URL or the API. In this, if you're an Act Premium Cloud user, right there, that is the Act API as of February 2023. You then have to know the database name, your username, and your password. So this is all the information you need to be able to get in and connect this to your Act Premium Cloud account. After you fill in all this information, click on Login to run a test, and I'll do that just so you can see it in action. And once you do this step and you get logged in, and you'll see it's successful, you know you have all these settings correct. That's the first and most important step. Until you get that done, everything else is irrelevant. So then on that step, when that step is completed, you can go to History Recording, and you can tell, okay, what kind of information do you want to be recorded? The email subject and the body of that email is what I've done at this point in time. I don't do attachments. You have some other settings in here that you can also go through. You're allowed to attach emails to Act Database users, attach all sent messages, even if they are not sent from this machine. I recommend you check that. What's great about that is if you have, for example, an iPad or any kind of mobile device, and you send an email from there, it will also attach those emails to the appropriate contacts. Because what it does is it finds the matching emails to the matching contact in Act, the email address I should say, and that's how it determines whether or not to attach it. You can also attach incoming messages. So you just check this off and that will attach the incoming messages. There are updates which you can periodically check for. If you don't want to check for the updates, and if you're in a big environment, maybe you want to do that just to keep everything consistent. But that is the first tab. That is the Act4Mail settings, the first one I recommend you work on. I'm going to click Save and Close. Next, I'm going to come up here to the Act Database settings, and there's just some more options in here that you'll see in a couple seconds. So when this comes up, we can do something called Contact Field Mapping. The most obvious mapping to match a contact to a contact in Act. In other words, if I send you an email, how does it find me in Act? These are how we can match some of the fields. The one I focus on is really the email address. Make sure it's in there. What's unique about this software is if you have more than one email address field, it will find those matching emails and attach it accordingly. So for example, if someone has a business email address at the company domain name, like Tony@TonyTheTeacher.com, or let's say they have TonyTheTeacher@gmail.com, if I put that email address in my contact in Act, it will find me regardless of which one I send it from. So that will make it easier to attach things even when people might send you things using maybe sort of a business and a personal email address. That can be excellent. I'm going to come up and look at activity settings. When an activity comes in, how do we want to set it? Now this is a little quirky here. This is one area that even though I've set it for meeting, when you get a meeting activity, like someone schedules something with you in Microsoft Outlook and you get the invitation, it will come in and you have to typically change it from call to meeting. It's just one little thing. Having said that, I'm going to go up to history settings. And when I come here, what kind of a history do I want to set? And really what you need to use is the email auto attach. That's what I recommend. This here is sort of interesting because it's contact exclusion settings. So for example, let's say that you have an opt-in field inactive, an opt-in to your emails, and someone says yes or someone says no. The no is really what I'd focus on. So if that field, in whatever the name is, you'd click on the drop down, and whatever the name of the field is, you could say, okay, the email opt-in field, if the value is no, don't attach that email to that person. Another way you could think of this is if it's internal company and you have a lot of contacts at your company, you might not want emails to attach that go back and forth between people at your company for a wide variety of reasons, but it's just something to be aware of. So this is just a little bit of an overview of how I use this function and how I configure this. There's other things you can do with it as well, but I just wanted to show you these basic settings. Thank you so very much. My name is Tony Holowitz. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach back to me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye now.